Hai
siang,
semuanya.
Pak Jonathan. Mungkin
Selamat
saya panggilnya Mas aja ya, biar lebih santai ya, Mas
siap.
Jonathan. Baik.
Yes,
Ya,
Mas Zul.
baik. Mas Jonathan, mungkin kita bisa mulai diskusi hari ini ya.
Ya,
Baik.
mungkin saya say hello dulu untuk
Baik,
semuanya.
silakan, Mas Jonathan.
Bu Kusumaning Tuti, thank you so much Bu untuk undangannya. Saya sangat honored sama pleasure untuk bisa sharing sama semua orang hari ini. Pertama saya minta maaf kalau bahasa Indonesia saya nggak perfectly lancar, jadi saya campur-campur dikit bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Inggris. Yang penting santai, yang penting natural. Dan saya berharap bisa sharing apa ilmu insights yang kita ada dari di bidang kerja dan harapan saya untuk para mahasiswa-mahasiswi yang hadir pada hari ini bisa inspired dan bisa open-minded dengan apa tren-tren sekular dan cyclical yang ada around us. Bapak, Ibu, semua para pemimpin, terima kasih untuk kesempatan ini. Yes,
Baik,
Mas Zul, back to you.
Baik, Mas Jo. Baik, Mas Jo. Seperti kita ketahui bahwa pandemi ini berdampak ke semua sektor ya, menyebabkan penurunan bisnis, kemudian juga perekonomian juga sempat berjalan melambat ya Mas Jo ya. Kemudian hal ini membuat pelaku dunia usaha merubah model bisnisnya, betul ya?
Iya.
Model bisnisnya yang tadinya dilakukan secara konvensional, nah sekarang mau nggak mau harus merubah ke arah digitalisasi begitu ya. Baik.
Dan pas banget gitu Mas Zul, undangan untuk bicara pada saat ini kan masih di pertengahan pandemi ini. Ya. Jadi yang tadi seperti diceritakan sama Bu Kusumaning Tuti, sudah ada sebuah secular trend dari 5 tahun yang terakhir ini, dari sejak tahun 2015, di mana ada perkembangan digital adoption di Indonesia. Ini launching of, ada yang ride hailing seperti Gojek dan Grab, ada kayak yang online travel agents kayak Traveloka sama e-commerce Tokopedia dan Shopee, right? So mereka leading the digital transformation di Indonesia. Ini started sejak tahun 2015 sebenarnya, jadi udah 5 tahun. Tapi kan semua progresnya it takes time kan. There's a lot of changes in the industry, especially financial services, digital payments. Itu sesuatu yang BI dan OJK sangat supportive dan sudah membantu perkembangan kemajuan teknologi ini. Tapi what happened dengan pandemi COVID ini adalah semua got digital, what we call a digital fast forward, di mana tadinya yang mungkin 5 tahun ke depan baru terjadi, sekarang di fast forward langsung terjadi di depan mata kita. That's why kita bisa ada webinar secara lancar begini. Zoom becomes a culture, right? And WhatsApp itu udah kayak bahasa kedua mungkin gitu. Jadi kayak, and it's the same with digital apps. Jadi applications, engagement, semua lebih dalam lagi kepada digital. Dan sebenarnya perubahan ini tuh bukan perubahan yang bisa dibilang sangat, apa ya, it's a very organic change. Karena perubahannya adalah in our mindset actually. Karena tadinya there's this mental block, di mana kita semua sangat takut, sangat khawatir. Apakah itu buat bisnis atau buat sehari-hari, there's this kayak mental block sometimes untuk tidak mau kayak adopt digital solutions. Tapi dengan adanya COVID ini, we didn't have a choice. Kita tidak ada pilihan, dan karena itu there's this open-mindedness di mana there's a digital leap forward as a result gitu, di mana semua orang sekarang mau apapun aktivitas kita pasti ada unsur elemen digital platformnya gitu. Dan so I think itu sebagai backdrop untuk pembukaan kita tuh penting banget. Makanya I'm very lucky today to be able to share impact yang kita lihat di sisi industri, both from a business standpoint, but juga secara social in terms of the impact of COVID and acceleration of digital.
Baik, jadi nggak cuma yang negatif-negatifnya aja ya Mas Jo ya, tapi positifnya kita dipercepat ke arah digitalisasi begitu ya Mas Jo ya.
Dan resiliensinya ya Mas Zul, kayak resiliency of economy, of business, kita tetap bisa bekerja, tetap bisa jalan, work from anywhere, right? This is so important. And saya selalu bilang kalau misalnya COVID hit Indonesia tahun 2018, mungkin kita nggak se-resilient as we are today. Karena pada tahun 2018, digital adoption, smartphone penetration belum where it is today. So actually ada beruntungnya juga di mana terjadinya COVID ini di tahun 2020, where infrastructure dan lain-lain sudah lebih siap gitu, dan digital penetration udah lebih mature.
Oke, baik. Mas Jo, saya mau ingatkan kembali kepada partisipan. Jadi kalau partisipan mau tanya, langsung aja ya Mas Jo ya. Jadi nanti sekalian berjalan, nanti tanya jawab langsung ngalir aja ya, begitu ya Mas Jo ya.
Sekalian
Baik,
aja, sekalian.
baik. Kemudian ini Mas Jo, sejauh ini bagaimana sih pemanfaatan platform digital dalam penyaluran kredit itu sendiri di Indonesia?
Yap, penyaluran kredit is a very it's a very deep and intricate process that you have to do, right? And jadi when we think penyaluran kredit, kita harus mundur kayak 2-3 langkah. Semua starts first and foremost dengan akses. Apa itu digital platform? Digital platform itu the first keyword yang digital platform presents offer service adalah akses. Akses untuk merchants, akses untuk service provider, in the case of Gojek drivers, right? And akses buat customer. Jadi platform marketplace ini adalah engagement di mana mereka semua bisa access one another, supply meets demand, dan juga mengakses whether it's facilities like credit facilities and other services. Jadi it's all access, access, access. So that's number one. Jadi the way we see it is that our platform harus offer the most seamless access to all the stakeholders of the marketplace. That's number one. Number two, kita juga harus, whenever we think about penyaluran kredit, kita juga think this is more of a pull than it is a push. I think oftentimes, kalau a lot of times we try to push products onto customers. Tapi menurut kita, the future of financial services adalah the customers or the merchants will have a deeper engagement dengan kita, dan dari data yang kita dapatkan dari transaksi-transaksi mereka, kita bisa lebih mengerti apa yang mereka butuhkan. Dan dengan itu, kita bisa package a product yang lebih seamless and convenient menurut kebutuhan dan kapabilitas dan kapasitas mereka untuk bisa to withstand that service, right? Jadi, I think that's the three keywords. Number one is kita provide access. Number two is dengan akses itu kita ada deeper engagement, whether it's with customer, merchants, driver. Dan dari engagement ini kita kan ada data and relationship. And then dengan itu penyaluran kredit becomes a natural organic pull that is a result of that. Jadi dibandingkan penyaluran kredit is the product, penyaluran kredit becomes the additional add-on service, and your product is actually access. And ini penting sekali untuk dimengerti karena oftentimes companies present their financial service product as what they're selling, but actually it's just an add-on to the service, which is we are the partners to the merchants, partners to the drivers, partners to the customers. It's all about access. Gitu masuk. Dan I think apa yang sangat menarik ya dengan perkembangan teknologi pada beberapa tahun ini adalah dengan digital pull forward ini, makanya kita kan lihat nih rame banget nih everything dari penyaluran kredit secara operasional yang tadi kita jelaskan dan kita bicarakan. Tapi kan pada hari ini Bapak Ibu, banyak sekali Bapak Ibu juga secara corporate ya melihat impact dari teknologi adoption for your corporate operations, impact kepada para enterprise, dan itu juga makanya yang lagi rame banget sekarang. Kita juga baru beberapa hari juga, it's never been this hot sejak tahun 2001 kan. Jadi kayak kemarin ini kan baru ada IPO-nya DoorDash sama Airbnb. Semua ini tuh is the result of what COVID has leapfrogged. Dan karena leapfrog COVID ini, jadi kayak the impact is that the penetration rates are far higher than what it would have been before gitu. Jadi I think tadinya Mas Zul akan kayak nanya lebih dalam untuk ke sana gitu. Kita tunggu Mas Zul dulu atau gimana ya?
Dilanjutkan aja nggak apa-apa, nanti saya backup. Kalau untuk risikonya sendiri, Mas Jo, untuk di Indonesia bagaimana untuk platform digital dalam penyaluran kredit?
Yes, and I think that's risk management is suatu yang penting banget ya. Kayak meaning kayak just because ini digital platform and it's alternate processes than what it was before doesn't mean that the risk management should be different. Karena kan sekarang kalau misalnya kita pikir when we think about digital financial products, kita kan selalu think speed and convenience, right? Tapi dengan speed itu kadang-kadang sometimes risk management doesn't come with it. Jadi the way we see it is that it shouldn't be a natural trade-off. Just because you want to give a very speedy and convenient experience to the customers, you still have to have the right risk management in place. Tapi what you can do is you can hedge a lot of that risk management from the deeper insights and engagement you have with the merchants and customers. Another way to think about it adalah dari akses tersebut. That's why the keyword is access, because karena there's this relationship and dependency antara platform dan stakeholder, whether it be merchants atau customers. Jadi dengan itu, that's where a lot of the risk management becomes more mitigated. You're not just pushing a product onto them. You know their capacity and capability to facilitate that. And you also provide them the channel, whether it's payments or anything, untuk bisa lancar gitu, di mana you give them a facility, and then you also provide them the means to pay it back gitu. So I think that's very important from a risk management standpoint. But I also believe that secara from a regulation standpoint, that the digital financial platforms juga must kayak apa ya, comply with what is required gitu untuk to ensure the risk management for all the ecosystem.
Oke, kalau dari sisi platform digitalnya menangani tentang resiko itu, yang resiko gagal bayar dari penyaluran kredit itu bagaimana kalau boleh tahu?
Jadi kita juga ada apa namanya kayak ada clear separation ya, Mas Ron. Jadi saya kan dari sisi Gojek. Jadi dari sisi Gojek, our focus adalah providing services, which is transportation, food, dan payments-nya. Tapi dari sisi financial lending itself, itu ada separate entity, which is our banking partners, yang actually provide those loans. We are primarily yang helping facilitate the access and channeling some of these products gitu. And so I think from a collections and everything standpoint, kita cuma fasilitasi gitu, Pak. Jadi we're not the ones yang kayak it's not on our books gitu. That's why there's still that underwriting process that our banking partners will support on.
Baik, Mas Jonathan, mohon maaf tadi koneksi saya terputus ya.
Iya, nggak apa-apa Mas.
Baik, ya. Baik Mas Jo, tadi saya sempat ya dengar tuh yang 3 ya, akses, engagement, sama data gitu ya. Jadi memang ini sangat diperlukan untuk mengetahui sebenarnya lebih detail lagi ya Mas ya, lebih customize lagi apa sih yang dibutuhkan oleh UMKM saat ini begitu ya, kurang lebih ya. Baik, apa sudah ada pertanyaan dari teman-teman di sini?
Dan Mas Zul, a lot of this kayak engagement dengan para UMKM dan customers juga datang dari platformnya ini. Karena kan kalau kita, contohnya GoFood deh gitu. Kalau GoFood kan kita kalau offer kepada para merchants, kita bukan cuma offer services of GoFood. Kita juga pairing dengan POS. Jadi kita provide them, nanti ERP sistemnya juga kita yang bantuin. Kita juga provide mereka payments services, whether it's acceptance in GoPay for their foot traffic, atau digital payments juga, dan kita provide advertising capabilities. Jadi kalau mereka mau issue voucher dan lain-lain juga bisa lewat kita. So you create multiple streams of relationships. Dan dengan itu dependensinya, you're not just their banking partner or you're not just their financial service partner. You're actually their partner. You're the platform that serves all the needs of the UMKM or the merchant. And not only does that mean you have better visibility over their capacity as a merchant to accept these financial products, tapi you also create that codependency, di mana it makes it enables you to mitigate a lot more on the risk management side, and that's why I think that's the uniqueness. And of course, the best part is also it's very asset light, and dengan itu it makes it much more efficient to be able to create the financial service ecosystem. I think Bu Kusumaningtuti also mentioned that dari sisi rural penetration itu juga penting sekali, karena kalau kita lihat digital footprint di Indonesia, smartphone penetration is what enables kita untuk go into daerah-daerah terpencil, dan a lot of this is just simply we cannot build out the brick and mortar infrastructure untuk service a lot of the financial access, right? That's why financial inclusion harus dilakukan lewat digital channels, because that's where it's more efficient and more accessible for a lot of these areas, and all the collection of the data and the relationship building is through that access of the platform. Yeah.
Jadi istilahnya one stop solution in one device gitu ya. Jadi semuanya ada di smartphone, Jadi bisa menjangkau ke semuanya ya, Mas Jonathan.
Betul, Mas Zul.
Semuanya ini pasti sudah pegang handphone semua ya, Mas. Mulai dari anak kecil sekarang, Mas. Kalau kita lihat masih kecil udah main handphone ya. Beda zaman-zaman dulu itu handphone itu barang yang sangat sulit begitu. Jadi ini memang memudahkan setiap orang untuk terkoneksi dan juga ini juga bisa jadi dimanfaatkan untuk pengembangan UMKM juga ke depan ya, Mas.
Dan engagement-nya itu datang di berupa ragam juga ya, Pak. Jadi soalnya kalau misalnya kota-kota di luar some of the top tier cities lebih natural karena Gojek bisa masuk karena bisa ada transportasi, ada food delivery, kan itu udah natural services yang you're already providing kepada para UMKM dan para users, right? Jadi you already have that relationship with them. Tapi kalau misalnya ke daerah-daerah lebih terpencil kan susah tuh untuk food delivery karena kan nggak ada density-nya. So dengan di situ you have to create digital payment services, whether it's arisan, whether it's payment of airtime gitu kayak pulsa, bills dan lain-lain. Dan sekarang digital gaming is also another way to access that, di mana at least udah ada relationship with the customer, and then you can offer financial services. And I think this habit of savings juga sesuatu yang harus kita expand in order to extend financial literacy and inclusion for a lot of these daerah-daerah terpencil.
Baik. Mas Jo, ini sudah ada pertanyaan ini dari Yan Indrayana menanyakan bahwa dari Impact Leader Institute bagaimana pelaksanaan 5C analysis dalam digital platform? Apakah hanya melihat dari karakter saja, dari analisa big data, dan bagaimana prinsip no one side, no disbursement credit gitu?
Jadi saya mau clarify ya, untuk to be completely transparent, we are not the underwriters of the loans. Jadi saya nggak mau misrepresent that Gojek is underwriting the loans. So actually Gojek is the facilitator. Jadi dari sisi kita provide our partners with the data and the segmentation of the UMKM or the users. Jadi kita show them, this is their patterns, here's their segments. Okay, si Mas Zulkifli ini is a power user on transportation. Setiap hari dia naik Gokar, dia 2 kali seminggu pesan GoFood, spendingnya segini per minggu, dan dia semua spendingnya lewat GoPay, and GoPay average balance-nya segini. Dan dengan itu, you can have a profile of Mas Zulkifli. Now, what the credit partners, whether it's the banking partners and etc., do with that information is in order to map to the 5 Cs. Jadi mereka yang then underwrite it on the basis of 5 Cs. Tapi we provide them as much information that meets the 5 Cs as we can based on what we see. Gitu. And I think so that's on the user side. On the merchant side, UMKM side, it's a little bit deeper, right? Because you also provide the merchants with all their services. Kalau POS kan penting sekali karena you see all of their sales, right? You see kayak okay, sales per day, sales per month-nya bagaimana, how's their cash flow management, right? Working capital-nya berapa? How do they withdraw? How do they disperse? And then if you manage their ERP juga, you also can see, okay, employees-nya, expenses-nya bagaimana, how many suppliers do they have, and then eventually you can have a better sense of their capacity to actually pay back the facility. So it's a great question, tapi I don't want to misrepresent that Gojek is underwriting the loans. Kita providing the information and the data for our underwriting partners to actually make that decision. Gitu.
Baik. Berarti lebih ke arah profiling si konsumen ya, pengeluarannya berapa per bulan, terus udah gitu behaviornya seperti apa, inilah yang disajikan ya untuk nanti ada yang ingin memberikan kredit seperti itu ya, Mas Jo ya.
Betul Mas Zul, and it's a very complex process ya, and it's something that is not something that kita believe that we are the experts at. We are the experts at providing services and access to our users, our merchants, and our drivers, and dengan itu kita bisa provide as much information about them that they're willing to share. Tapi at the end of the day, credit underwriting is in the area of the financial service partners kita.
Baik, Mas Jonathan, ini ada mahasiswa kami nih dari angkatan 2020 ingin langsung bertanya ke Mas Jonathan, boleh ya?
Yes, please.
Baik, ya silakan teman-teman boleh di show Fahru Rozi. Baik. Yeah. Nah, ini kan kita tadi sudah membicarakan tentang penyaluran kredit UMKM. Nah, bagaimana sih cara untuk mengedukasi atau meliterasi para pelaku UMKM ini pada penggunaan digital platform?
Jadi untuk para pelaku UMKM ya, Mas Zul. Jadi tren yang kita lihat dari especially accelerated dari pandemi ini adalah first and foremost, there's two ways you can offer services. First way adalah, can you help them drive more sales? Atau kedua, can you help them save expenses? Right? Kalau kita bicara sama UMKM, pasti that's the one of the two things they care about. Kayak, okay, what do you want to provide me? More sales or less costs? Right? And from what we've learned, more sales is what is the primary pull. Jadi untuk kalau kita provide to merchants, hey, I will provide you more access, more channels for sales, they're very happy. And that's our primary unique selling point of GoFood, right? Karena kamu provide omni-channel offering untuk mereka. So that's the first conversation. Then kedua, after you have that relationship, you provide them sales, mungkin your 10, 15, 20% of their sales. Then you can go to the second question becomes, how do you become the hub of that merchant? Karena a lot of platforms can provide a lot of different competing services, right? To give more sales. And this is that's why there's a competitive pricing and all that kind of stuff. Tapi what you want to offer them is you want to be the primary at the heart of the merchant. You want to be the central hub, right? And we believe that that hub is the POS. Karena the point of sale system is benar-benar navigasinya si merchant. Itu dashboardnya dia, right? So you want to be their dashboard. That's why buat kita untuk provide that access is very important. So we're like, hey, we're already providing new sales. You have a great relationship and trust with us. Here's another offering that will deepen our engagement and our sharing, which is the POS system. Dan dengan POS system itu, then you truly go into a partnership that is no longer just about sales and incentives. Karena kan the first one is more like, okay, that's a transactional relationship. Then you go to a deeper relationship where you're the primary service provider, right? Jadi dengan itu, we also understand them much better. Because tadinya kan kita cuma lihat sales yang kita provide ke sang merchant tersebut. Tapi kan kita nggak tahu si merchant itu tuh berapa besar, capability and capacity-nya tuh bagaimana. Tapi dengan this dashboard, you can see the whole picture, right? Lalu yang ketiga, then you can offer them the add-on services. And add-on services ini yang lebih monetization focused, which is, okay, gue bisa provide inventory management, which is helping you reduce your costs. I can give you better access to logistics and deliveries, right? Also better cost base. I can provide better working capital management, better cost base. And I can provide more access to financial products in order for you to expand when the time comes. Jadi kayak, that is almost like the last and the holy grail. Karena that one is when you truly understand the merchant holistically, then you offer the access to financial products. And jadi kayak that's kind of like the merchant journey that we envision untuk sang UMKM. And this is kind of like the blueprint. Tapi as you can imagine, dengan COVID ini, there's an acceleration of kebutuhan omni-channel tersebut. Jadi dengan itu, now merchants are the ones who come to us. Karena mereka yang kayak, hey, I want that full offering. Please give me all the suite of services. Dan dengan itu, jadi it's a one-stop shop. Then you can give them the merchant platform, and then they can select mau pakai apa aja, depending on their needs, depending on their vertical and sector.
Baik Mas Jo, jadi memang bisa dibilang dari hulu sampai hilirnya ya, Gojek bantu supaya nggak cuma ngomongin sales, tapi ada engagement di dalam sana begitu ya, sehingga mitra juga puas, kemudian juga customer juga mendapatkan apa yang mereka inginkan begitu. Baik.
Betul banget. And our goal, and the only way Gojek and other platforms can grow is if ecosystem kita grow with us. So kita lihat di China, di US, semua platform yang successful, they grow because their merchants grow. And kalau kita lihat kayak Taobao di Alibaba Group China, itu kayak the top merchants, mereka really started from when Alibaba was very small to where they are today. Mereka grow with the platform. They open more outlets, they open more access, they distribute to more places around the country. So it's kind of like that network effect adalah sesuatu yang kita mau replicate di Indonesia. Dan itu semua through that merchant relationship. So it's a long-term relationship. It's not a transactional one.
Jadi journey-nya juga diperhatikan gitu ya, Mas Jaya, journey-nya. Kemudian
Betul.
juga kayak di China mau beli ini aja, mau beli sayur aja langsung ya, tinggal scan barcode gitu ya. Mudah-mudahan Indonesia bisa secepatnya gitu.
Exactly, dan nggak semua merchant bisa dan membutuhkan kredit, right? Karena kan
Betul.
some merchants kayak masih MVP, masih produknya masih di testing, masih alpha, beta. Oke, ini kayaknya misal even simple kayak jualan makanan, right? You still looking for curating my menu. Operations kan susah sekali juga, scalability-nya, proses. Dan when they're ready, then you upsell and you offer that financial product, then it becomes sort of like their jet fuel untuk mereka to take it to the next level. Jadi kayak I think that is very important, that customer as well as merchant journey, that you grow with them and you offer them the right products at the right time.
Ya, jadi grow up together gitu ya,
Betul,
Mas
betul.
Jo. Kemudian juga ada pertanyaan lagi nih, Mas Jonathan, dari Ibu Iin Indarti menanyakan, ini dari Semarang nih, Mas Jo, lumayan jauh dari Semarang nih.
Hai.
Oke, baik. Bagaimana era disruption ini bisa ditemukan pada masa pandemi untuk bisa menukar startup yang mampu eksis di masa pandemi dalam menghadapi reformasi teknologi? Ya.
Oke, ini Bu In, saya harap bisa engage sama saya karena ini pertanyaannya loaded banget nih, besar banget. Reformasi teknologi is something that I'm curious what you mean. Tapi I will answer this more about kayak the digital journey of technology di Indonesia ya. Jadi ini every time I share dengan para mahasiswa-mahasiswi is very interesting karena mereka they are coming into, there's so much happening in the last 5 years in Indonesia in the digital transformation that mereka pun are coming into a different point in history. Jadi di sejarah teknologi di Indonesia, the first key milestone adalah tahun 2014. Tahun 2014 ini adalah pertama kali kita ada significant smartphone penetration. Jadi this is when affordability of smartphone becomes very affordable, right? So ada Oppo, ada all these brands where you have access across the market. Dan dengan itu, that's the beginning of Tokopedia, Traveloka, and Gojek. Semua tiganya di-funding di tahun 2014 itu. Dan kita semua launch our app January 2015. That's the Big Bang. Jadi kalau kita pikir Big Bang, the Big Bang of technology was January 2015. Dan sejak 2015 itu, it's been a blitz scale, right? 2015-16 itu a step change in terms of growth of technology. 2018 is a sweet spot. 2018 was when the first set of companies already started becoming more mature platforms. Jadi this platform explanation yang tadi saya jelaskan sudah mulai jelas itu strateginya. Dan dengan itu banyak sekali startup yang mulai provide other services that complement the platforms, right? So it's what we call as platform among platforms. Jadi kayak ada banyak sekali access further services yang complements those platforms. And kita pun, we cannot live without the Amazons and the Googles, right? Because Amazon provides our web services, right? Google Cloud, etc., and Google Maps and everything. Jadi kayak everything is like a system that plugs with one another, right? And then that's tahun 2018. And then interestingly, of course, 2020 ada COVID ini. Dan COVID ini sempat kita sempat terhenti sebentar, gitu, 2-3 bulan, pas bulan Maret, April. Kita mulai harus mungkin reformasi ya dibilang, like you have to really think, okay, what's the future of technology? Where do we go from here? Dan sejak awal second half of 2020, which is bulan Juni ke depan ini, we've seen an acceleration of the movement towards the cloud. Jadi all of, whether it's enterprise, whether it's UMKM, whether it's customers, everything we live dari transactions, commerce, business, to social, semuanya moving onto the cloud, right? Moving onto digital platforms. Dan dengan acceleration ini, I believe, is the next reform of digital technology. Dan dari tahun 2021 ke depan, it's fascinating, and I think we will see in the whole world. And that's why, yang tadi saya jelaskan, even the IPOs are showing the signals of which direction it's going, right? And there's this flurry in that direction. Then how Indonesia will adjust and capture that trend is on us as the Generation Z, right? Generation Z, banyak sekali para mahasiswa-mahasiswi yang hari ini tune in, kan semua Gen Z. And so kalian as future of banking, the future of corporate finance, you have to understand this trend because that will be your partner, right? technology will be your partner, whether it's in the way you run your businesses, your company, right, your enterprise, your bank, your financial institution, all the way through to if you become an entrepreneur, right? When you think about corporate finance, when you think about funding, when you think about facilitation of credit, when you think about financial inclusion, financial literacy, financial access, everything will be dependent on the ability to adopt digital technology. Jadi, I think harapan saya adalah I can share this, and thank you Inan ya tadi untuk kayak lay that foundation. And kalau ada yang mau nanya lagi, what does this mean? What does this look like? I can go into more detail. Tapi mungkin saya berhenti dulu.
Oke, mungkin saya akhir di sini.